Hey everybody, it's Jared Miller with Big Mill Motorsports here. Let's see, we raced last Saturday, or we tried to race last Saturday at Brush Creek. In the morning, man, the weather wasn't looking so good, but the forecast showed that it was going to clean up pretty good and it was going to be a nice night. So we packed everything up, drove up to Brush Creek, and it was a beautiful night, or beautiful afternoon. Nice breeze, weather was good. Got there, got unloaded, got hot laps in on a fresh track. I thought it was going to be great. I had a favorable group that I was in, and I qualified third. So this is a bit disappointing. Now, I ran the high line of the track. I struggled to figure out, like, when the track is freshly prepped versus throughout the night, like what that changes and where that's at on the track. So I thought running the high line I'd get more grip. That obviously didn't work right. So I qualified third in my group, which means I start the heat race third. So then we went through first all the other groups, all the other classes did heat races. Our Legends groups had 3 heat races. So the first 2 heat races went out. I was in the third group. We go out there and, like, seriously, it was crazy. Like, right when the green flag dropped, it started sprinkling. Maybe a half a lap before that, but didn't recognize it. And we all dove down into turn 1, and I swear it was like ice. Probably like a nice thin mud layer right on top of the hard packed dirt. And it was just like, whoop, just slid right up. And I've driven on wet asphalt tracks before, and I'll tell you, man, that dirt, I think, was more slick than a wet asphalt track. It amazed me. It was crazy. So needless to say, it started pouring down rain later after that, so we didn't get our heat race in and we didn't get the features in. Cool though, the track is actually going to do a makeup race as part of another race night. So on August 5th, I think that the sequence will go, since my group didn't get their heat race in, we'll be the first ones on the track. No practice, no nothing, just bam, let's go into the heat race. We'll run our heat race, then that'll set what the lineup is for the feature. Then I believe the other classes will run their makeup feature, and then we'll run our makeup feature, and then it'll go back into a normal race night with hot laps, heat races, and then another feature. So I think that's great for a couple of reasons. One, I need more track time, and getting more track time on the same day as race day helps out a lot. Obviously, the track is prepped. The track prep will stay the same throughout most of the night, so I'll get a little bit more consistency on that, and I would expect to do better in the second feature than in the first feature. The other thing is I tend to do better on like a dry, slick track. So as the night goes on and the track slicks off, I tend to do a little bit better on that, and maybe with more laps on the track, that'll make it slick off sooner or faster or more, I don't know, and hopefully that'll be to my advantage. So I did do a couple of changes. I had changed the rear end. I tightened up the rear cross by half a round. Prior to all that, I don't know that that made any difference. I only had hot laps on that, so I don't know. I can't tell if that made that much of a difference. I had made a half a round change, loosening up the front end wedge prior to the heat race, but obviously we didn't get the heat race in. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Well, actually, I do know what I'm gonna do. The feature this week's race will just be a normal sequence. So I'm going to put that half round back on the front, leave the rear the way it is, run hot laps, see how the car is, make adjustments for the heat race based on that, with the plan of taking all of those adjustments back out for the feature race. Should be pretty normal. I have no idea what I'm going to do for the makeup night where we're on the track for that much more. Probably the feature race will be more of a experimental on my setup, trying to figure out what I'm doing. But either way, I think it's fun. It's trying to figure out all that stuff. Next thing let's talk about rear deck lids. Last week in the vlog, I talked about how one of the faster guys was not running a deck lid, so I was going to not run a deck lid. Part of that for me was, well, if he can do it, I'm going to do it. I come from a world on asphalt racing where almost all the tracks were sanctioned. I've ran at nationals and things like that, and with all of that stuff, they're pretty heavy on tech. And I know that they're pretty heavy on deck lids and hood heights and all that kind of stuff. Now, whether or not it makes a difference, I don't know. I do believe that probably at a certain speed, not having a deck lid or having a deck lid that can evacuate a certain amount of air probably does have an advantage. How much, I don't know, and at what speed, I don't know. But either way, so my goal here was to try to push the limits and see where we're following in terms of the rules and where we're not following in terms of the rules. I did like to see that, I think I was sitting in line for heat races and I probably saw 2 or 3 other cars without deck lids. Now the guy I called out last week for not having a deck lid had his deck lid on. But it was good to see that other people were listening to me on my vlog there. And on that same note, while the first heat race was going out, we heard over the receiver that they're now going to be enforcing the deck lid rule, and that next week everybody's got to make sure that they have their deck lids on and sealed tight. And then I think yesterday they posted out a kind of, I don't know if it's a rule update or more of a rule clarification, that rear deck lids need to be on the car and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that perfectly served the purpose that I was intending there. Did I think that I was going to gain a lot of advantage with a rear deck lid off? No. But I want to understand what are the bounds by which the rules we're following. What rules are we following here? Part of the racing thing is to understand where your limit's at and to understand what you can and can't do. I know that we don't fully follow the U.S. Legends rules. We're not a full sanctioned track, and I'm cool with that. But what I don't know is where that line is drawn. Obviously, I look around and I've seen a ton of cars over the years visiting different tracks and going to nationals and the big money race down in Charlotte several years ago. I know what's legal and what's not legal, and so seeing I guess what I would call not legal on folks' cars makes me want to try to determine where this line's at, try to figure that out. So we learned that, okay, cool, we are enforcing some rules and we're going down this path, and I think that's great. So we'll see. I've never cheated in my life, at least not what I would call intentionally cheated. I have had issues with wheelbase before or ride heights before, but in my mind that's kind of like a miscalculation from a setup standpoint. But I haven't ever intentionally ran an illegal rear end housing or ran illegal hubs or ran illegal tires or any of that kind of stuff, ignition boxes. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I want everybody to run by the rules because I think that keeps the playing field fair. But there's a lot of things that you can do, and in my time I've seen a decent amount of it, and I have enough experience with Legends to know that there's a large amount of things that you can do to break the rules or bend the rules depending on how you want to perceive it, that can give you an advantage. And it's probably not huge advantages. Some of the things might be, but the little advantages probably do stack up over time. And I really don't want anybody to be bending those rules or breaking those rules, because I don't want to do it. So my goal is to keep everybody in check a little bit. So maybe on a every once in a while basis, I might point out if I see something that is not within the rules, and see if we are following those rules or not. And if we're not, that's fine. Then we just all know that that's something that we can do. Obviously, we run non-sanctioned, and we do that because we've got a good group of guys that probably don't want to have to afford to run sanctioned with all the different rules and crap that's required with that. And I don't think a lot of our folks are cheating, don't get me wrong. The reality is that it's a fairly close field. We talk about the comers and goers in a race night, but almost any given time I'm racing with a pack of 4 or 5 cars that are fairly tight in there. So that tells you that, at least in my mind, if I'm not cheating, then that means that probably those people aren't cheating, or if they are, they're not very good at it. But either way, I don't think this isn't a big drastic issue. But if I see something that's kind of fairly large out there, I'm tend to be the kind of guy that's going to point it out. I'm a little bit anal with that kind of stuff. I've read the U.S. Legends rule book, probably far more than I should have. Just trying to understand what I need to do in order to make sure that my car is legal. On top of that, I want to be able to run sanctioned U.S. Legends races, and in order to be able to do that, I need my car to be legal for their races. And so it's in my best interest to make sure that everybody's kind of running on the same legal platform here. So that was a lot of a rant there. But either way, if I see something that appears that we're allowed to do, I might push that limit. I might try to challenge those rules, because in my mind, that's, if it's something that we're allowed to do, cool, then I want to do it, because I want as much advantage as anybody else when we're racing. So either way, if you got some comments on that, let me know down in the comment section or on my Facebook page or whatnot, or come up to the track and tell me that you think I'm a POS and I should shut the hell up. That's fine too. Either way, this week we're racing at Brush Creek again, but this week it's on Friday. It's part of their late model barn burner night. They don't usually run late models at Brush Creek, and so this is probably a fairly big night with a different class coming in. It'll probably be fun to watch the cars, and then we're going to be one of the support classes with that. So that should be fun. I taken a half day of work so that I can go up and go to that race. I'm hoping the weather holds out so that we don't have another rain out or anything like that. Let's see. Had several people comment on my last blog about doing maybe a race day follow along or a race day vlog or something like that. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to start this Friday, but I'm going to try to do kind of a throughout the race day follow along. I won't be able to do it full throughout the day because my battery will go dead on my camera, and I need that to actually run the race videos. But I also need some time to kind of sit and think and figure out what the heck I'm doing at the racetrack. So, but I'll try to do that. I've tried that a couple times before, and something has always come up that threw me off, and then I missed doing the rest of my videos. But that's been a year. I tried that last year a couple times. So we'll see if I can do that on Friday. If it doesn't work out Friday, then I'll do it for the next race, and I'll just keep doing that until I can get that figured out. I tried to figure out how to do live streaming through my GoPro during the race, but I only have a GoPro Hero 3 Plus, and I guess once you get to GoPro Hero 4, that's when they allow you to do the live streaming. So I thought I had it all figured out, and I can't. I also thought about doing some live streaming on Facebook on a race day, but it appears that most folks are really watching it after the fact. So probably not going to do that unless I hear a whole bunch of people say that they want me to do that. So that's about it. Since we didn't get even heat races in last week, I'm not going to do anything to the car. I'm not even going to nut and bolt it. I washed it because it got muddy getting it back into the truck and everything like that, or into the trailer. But I'm not going to nut and bolt it. I'm not going to change the oil filter. We washed it and dried it, and that's it. So I'll load it back up into the trailer on Friday, and we will head out, and hopefully it'll be a great night. If you have any other comments, thoughts, questions, ideas, or what's your opinion on the deck lid situation, or even just rules and pushing the limits, let me know. All right, I've got to get back to the summer shootout racing, which is what I'm watching right now on Legends Nation TV. So I got to get back to that, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.